Hello, I'm doing a review for this book. It is Milton's Paradise Lost. Okay, let's put that giant book down. I've struggled with how to construct this review because I want to be honest, but it's God and I don't want to piss off God. So I'm going slightly tongue-in-cheek. Let's try to have a sense of humour in life and just pray for my soul in the afterlife. I am also aware that this book is not the Bible and that the impressions given by Milton may not chime with other religious views. However, Paradise Lost is based on the characters and events of the Bible, and I'm going to give my opinion of Milton's descriptions. I really liked the way this book was written, but I found the content less pleasing. I wanted to read this book for the religious subject matter, but then it just annoyed me. I was hoping to find out more about Adam and Eve and to look at the questions of human morality, but I found the story really base and unconvincing. Adam was a wimpy sap, and Eve was so pathetic I wanted to slap her. God's decisions seemed illogical, and Satan really came out best. That was not what I was looking for, but at least I could understand him. I did, however, enjoy Milton's writing. This was a beautiful book to read, if only I hadn't found the subjects so up themselves and irritatingly self-righteous. With loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat, sing, heavenly muse, that on the secret top of Oreb or of Sinai didst inspire that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed in the beginning how the heavens and earth rose out of chaos. Very beautiful writing, I'm sure you'll agree. After a brief introduction, during which Milton pleads to the heavenly forces to guide him in his great feat of telling this epic religious tale, the story then begins with Satan, one of God's angels, being thrown out of heaven along with a load of other angels because they have been very naughty. Apparently they have caused an almighty hoo-ha in heaven because Satan has been glory hunting. He should have known that there is only one who gets the glory in Christianity. Or is it two? Or three? Oh no, that's right, they're all the same. Yes, that makes sense. It isn't clear initially what Satan has done to elicit God's fury, but I'm curious to learn more. I'm hoping to learn what could have driven this patron of evil to his destiny. What could have caused God's creation, which is perfect, right, to have become the force that would push the realms of known experience in evil, dark ways, and who would determine the torment of mankind from its very conception. Satan and his accomplice angels have been hurled into a pit of darkness, hardness, fire and pain. They hate it there. They have never experienced pain like this before, and because they are still immortal, they face an eternity of suffering. Whilst I'm mega curious to know exactly what Satan did to get this terrible punishment, I'm already feeling that perhaps God shouldn't have reacted so angrily. Far be it from me to question God's judgment, but to punish these fallen angels so badly, he must know that he's going to seriously piss them off, and they're already not on the best of terms. Does God really think that Satan's going to take this punishment lying down and not seek revenge? Satan is very annoyed that God has done this to him, and in his anger, Satan's mind is made up. He's going to make God pay for punishing him. He's going to go out of his way to make himself a bloody nuisance. But of this be sure, to do aught good never will be our task, but ever to do ill our sole delight, as being the contrary to his high will, whom we resist. If then his providence out of our evil seek to bring forth good, our labour must be to pervert that end, and out of good still to find means of evil, which oft times may succeed, so as perhaps shall grieve him, if I fail not, and disturb his inmost counsels from their destined aim. Oh dear. Having thrown the angels out of heaven, God has also, perhaps inadvertently, created them as masters of a new and dangerous kingdom. Here we get that famous quote, "Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven." Although the line here that struck me most was, "Here at least we shall be free." There's a lot of talk in the book about free will. God gave the angels free will, and he gave man free will. And, oh, isn't he marvellous? He gave everyone free will. But woe betide any bastard who dares to use that free will in a way which is not how God wants them to use it. So I have to wonder, does God know what free will is? You can't say to someone, "Here, I give you free will, it's yours, but don't bloody do that." It's like saying to someone, "Now you can have the injection, it's your free choice, absolutely your decision, but you're not allowed to say no to it." There's a bizarre conversation that takes place between God and his son when they see that Satan has escaped from hell. They foresee that man will be misled by Satan, and that because of that bad deed, God will have to punish them by bringing them death and unhappiness. And the son volunteers himself there and then to redeem sinful man. A pretty accurate prediction. It doesn't sound like any of them have free will at all. For man will hearken to his glozing lies, and easily transgress the sole command, sole pledge of his obedience. So will fall he and his faithless progeny. Whose fault? Whose but his own? Ingrate he had of me all he could have. I made him just and right, sufficient to have stood, though free to fall. So God's saying that easily man will sin and fall, and it's his own fault. I've done all I can for him, but it's his free will, and he will fall. I mean, Satan hasn't even approached Adam and Eve yet God knows for sure that Satan will easily corrupt them. Sounds like a design flaw in man to me, but no, it is entirely man's fault. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either you did a good job on man, and in that case, you should have more faith in him, and maybe do something to stop Satan, who you mightily pissed off, from taking his revenge on ignorant man. Or you didn't do such a great job with man, and you've left him open to corruption. God spends a long time justifying why the fall is man's fault, and more importantly, not his. God and his son have quite the love-in as the son offers himself to die to redeem the sinful humans. Oh, unexampled love! It's a strange thing that the son is so amazing and praiseworthy that he would give up his life, that he will die for our sins, and will then rise up and return to heaven. Therefore, the son is making this great sacrifice in the knowledge that he will return to his place beside God. But what of us? What of us humans condemned to live forever in mortal fear of death? All as payment for the sins that were built into our ancestors. For us, there is no certainty of redemption after death. For us, there is only death and unknowing. Are we so sinful in our quest for knowledge that we should be forever tormented in this way? And still, I would not choose ignorance. Definitely a design flaw. Satan escapes hell and spies on man, sidestepping the angel guards who do not realise who he is. He comments to them that God justly hath driven out his rebel foes to deepest hell, and to repair that loss, created this new happy race of men to serve him better. Wise are all his ways. I found this passage disturbing because it seems to be suggesting that because God drove out the rebels, he is now short of subjects to serve him. So he has created this happy race of men to fill the gap. By happy, I'm assuming they mean ignorant, i.e. they're too stupid to think of rebelling. The beauty and wonder of earth is lovingly described by Milton, and in particular the Garden of Eden, a place that God has created, especially for his special pair. We are then introduced to the two, who are made in the noble image of God, though not equal. For contemplation he and valour formed, for softness she and sweet attractive grace. He for God only, she for God in him. Pass me a bucket. Adam and Eve live a life of plenty in Eden. The plants are overflowing with fruit, and their only duties are to prune and maintain the plants and praise God. Satan takes on the form of various animals so that he can spy on Adam and Eve, and thus learn a way to ruin them in revenge for God banishing him to hell. Satan learns that there is a tree that they are forbidden to eat from, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and Satan sees this as his way in for revenge. That night, whilst Eve sleeps, Satan whispers in her ear, and in the morning she recalls to Adam that she has had a terrible dream in which she ate from the very tree that they know they mustn't eat from, the tree of knowledge. You would think that this dream would serve as a warning to her that whatever she does, for no reason whatsoever, just don't eat from that fucking tree. But apparently, in all their innocent happiness, they're forgetful. Knowing that Satan is lurking around, God sends a messenger, Raphael, to Adam and Eve to warn them to be extra vigilant. Although I wonder that he bothered doing this, seeing as he and his son have already foreseen man's fall. But I suppose it is part of their obsession with accepting no blame. When Raphael arrives, Adam sends Eve off to potter about preparing food. Some things never change, while the males discuss important matters. Raphael informs Adam that he and Eve are at risk from Satan, and that they must remember to be obedient to God. They have been created good, but it is within their will to remain so. Raphael also reveals what the argument is between God and Satan. Basically, God has begotten his Son. Remember that according to the Holy Trinity, they are one, because, of course, the Christian USP over paganism is monotheism. Even though there are two of them, they are the same. No, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I digress. So, God says that the Son is equal to him and is the head of the angels, and they must bow down to him and confess him Lord, and that anyone who disobeys the Son disobeys him. Again, quite austere and obsessive about being worshipped. Satan is less than impressed with this change in the order of things and basically says no. That really annoys God. Again, you have the free will, but you're not allowed to use it. He of the first, if not the first archangel, great in power, in favour and preeminence, yet fraught with envy against the Son of God, that day honoured by his great Father, and proclaimed Messiah King anointed, could not bear through pride that sight, and thought himself impaired. Deep malice thence conceiving and disdain, soon as midnight brought on the dusky hour, friendliest to sleep and silence, he resolved with all his legions to dislodge and leave unworshipped, unobeyed, the throne supreme, contemptuous. So basically, Satan was fairly high up the pecking order, and now he's been taken down a peg or two, and he's having a strop about it. The basic argument seems to be that Satan thinks that the angels have been created as one equal layer beneath God and should not have to bow down to anyone else. The opposing argument is that the Son is equal to God, and therefore he does have to bow down to him, and also that the angels have no right to question God. This seems like a lot of penis waving to me, and again there are the obsessions with hierarchy and serving and obeying which dominate the text. In response to Adam's queries about the nature of space and heaven, Raphael concludes, "Solicit not thy thoughts with matters hid, leave them to God above, him serve and fear. Heaven is for thee too high to know what passes there. Be lowly wise. Think only what concerns thee and thy being. Dream not of other worlds, what creatures there live, in what state, condition, or degree. I find this passage disturbing. God has created man, who is a curious animal, and then man is told, that's not for you to know, it doesn't concern you. Why? I want to know. Apparently, it's a vain notion to want to know more. What the fuck? Adam talks about when he was created, and right from the start, God made it very clear to him that he could not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and that if he did, he would be cast out to live a life of sorrow and woe. It also seems that God had not intended to create Eve, but Adam was lonely and he begged God for some company. The next day, Satan, disguised as a serpent, talks to Eve as she works tending the garden. He flatters her and tells her that he can talk because he ate from the tree of knowledge, and that if she eats from it, then she will know as much as the gods. Eve is easily convinced, despite the fact that eating from this tree seems to be the only thing that God has told them not to do. And she has been forewarned that Satan is lurking about, wishing to do her harm. So she eats the apple, and is then euphoric, although it isn't clear what she has actually gained. Eve considers keeping her new secret to herself. Shall I to him make known as yet my change, and give him to partake full happiness with me? Or rather not, but keeps the odds of knowledge in my power, without co-partner. So to add what wants in female sex, the more to draw his love, and render me more equal. The opinion of Eve is so low. She has turned from the doe-eyed, wet lettuce leaf posing about for Adam to admire, to now being a right manipulative bitch. Neither impression of woman would I aspire to. But it gets worse. But what if God have seen, and death ensue? Then I shall be no more, and Adam, wedded to another Eve, shall live with her, enjoying, I extinct. What a woman! She needn't have fretted, because Adam is so perfect that he decides to eat the fruit, not because he is tempted, but only because he cannot bear to leave Eve to suffer her terrible fate alone. What a saint he is. So woman, never in God's plans, simply Adam's rib designed to keep Adam company and look pretty. So stupid is she that she is tricked by the feeblest ruse Satan has ever devised, and then she drags Adam down with her. This has been held against women for 2,000 years. Well, you know what? Fuck off. Before they eat the apples, Adam and Eve are cosy and affectionate with each other, and they've been told that between them they'll populate the planet. But I'm thinking, are they actually humping? Or are they too innocent for that? How else are they meant to populate the planet? When Adam tastes the apple, he almost instantly sets about ravishing Eve. And there is this idea again that sex is evil. But sex is a life-giving act. Or is that how we are attempting to be God, in that we give life and take pleasure in the act? Why would God be pissed off about that? I'm pissed off that I don't know why the fuck I'm here. After they eat the apples, they seem intoxicated by them, and they have mad, raucous sex, which I suppose is supposed to symbolise lust instead of love. But I still don't even know if they were even humping before. The pair are thrown out of Eden for eating the apples, and are condemned to a life of suffering and death. And I'm thinking, they never even got any knowledge from that tree. So why was it called the tree of knowledge of good and evil? The knowledge of good and evil is translated into knowing evil through your now wretched life and knowing good in what you've lost. Bit like tails I win, heads you lose. And for knowing this knowledge, you get the punishment of death, which will also be served on all your progeny. Seems a bit unfair to me. They got the punishment for being curious, a trait which God gave them, And they still don't get the answers to the fundamental questions. And I have to wonder, are we nothing but God's playthings? I'm still not so sure what the terrible sin is. Is it the desire for knowledge, the aim to know as much as gods, or the enjoyment of passionate sex? Personally, I can't find sin in either of these pursuits. And no, I don't consider myself under the influence of evil. And if death be the punishment for human nature, then I can only look to my Creator and the flaws which they have placed within me. Luckily, I have more respect for my Creator than to condemn them to such petty demands and revenge. Instead, I condemn the misogyny that stalks the Christian religion and goes back almost to its conception, and which is so beautifully detailed by Milton. For a while, Adam and Eve consider killing themselves or refusing to reproduce so as to bring a quicker end to their suffering. But they soon learn that they are to use their lives and the lives of their offspring to fight against the dark forces that misled them. Great, another job. Adam is shown the future of man until the second coming. In the visions of the future, we see man return to evil so reliably that again I would call it a design flaw. However, Adam and Archangel Michael surmise that men who walk through life and retain their faith in God and live in goodness and truth, they will then regain paradise within themselves. Let's finish on that note of hope, however minuscule it may be. Okay, so here's the book again. Okay, and the next book I'm going to be reading, because I want some lighter reading after that, will be Downsizing by Tom Watson. So please look out for that. Okay, thank you.